Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The headlines. The Philippines could lose over $1 billion as Trump's tariff threats put exports at risk. President Marcos Jr. is willing to open the door for Senate special sessions. What's next for VP Sara Duterte's impeachment? A fake PWD ID factory is busted in Manila. Authorities uncover a massive operation and warn that more raids are coming. Elsewhere, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio drops a bombshell. Palestinians can return to Gaza, but only after rebuilding. First, let's take a look at how financial markets performed overnight. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq closed higher on Thursday as investors digest earnings reports and await Amazon's results after the bell and look ahead to a key jobs report on Friday.
Overall guidance for 2025 has been a little bit unenamored as well. What we're seeing today is a market that's basically just taking a sigh, taking a breath, and probably looking past these earnings that we have right now into future earnings later on in the week, as well as jobs data.
By the closing bell, the S&P 500 was up by 0.4%, the Nasdaq Composite higher by 0.5%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down by 0.3%. Over in Europe, markets ended higher. The UK's FTSE 100 gained 1.21%, Germany's DAX higher by 1.5%, and France's CAC 40 higher by 1.5% as well. Here at home, now the Philippines could lose over $1 billion in export revenues as the U.S. under President Trump imposes more tariffs on imported goods, including those from the Philippines. A study by the Congressional Policy and Budget Research Department, or the CPBRD, shows that higher taxes may be placed on machinery, electronic equipment, coconut products, and seafood, all big exports for the Philippines. The estimated $1 billion loss makes up 10% of what the Philippines exported to the U.S. last year, which reached $12.12 billion. In short, this could hurt Philippine exporters, affect jobs, and reduce dollar inflows. With the U.S. as a major trade partner, businesses here will need to adapt fast. The government is tightening its grip on counterfeit goods, seizing a record 41 billion pesos worth of fake products in 2024. That's a 52% surge from 27 billion pesos the year prior, according to the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. Now, the Bureau of Customs led that crackdown with a major raid in Binondo last July, uncovering 11 billion pesos worth of fake luxury goods. Another 7 billion pesos in counterfeit products were seized in Divisoria last November. The National Bureau of Investigation and the Philippine National Police also intensified their operations, confiscating billions of pesos worth of fake goods across the country. This is a win for legitimate businesses and consumer safety, but it also highlights how big the fake goods industry has become. Authorities warn that buying counterfeits doesn't just hurt the economy, it can also fund illegal operations and compromise safety. At least one lawmaker is denying claims circulating online, alleging that lawmakers were rewarded for supporting the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. Zandro Achona has the details.
A House member is accusing critics of spreading fake news after the House of Representatives impeached Vice President Sara Duterte. A post on Facebook says his constituents will receive cash aid after he signed the fourth impeachment complaint. The post adds Speaker Martin Romualdez increased their budget allocation.
The impeachment complaint has form and substance, kaya na-approve talaga siya sa House with 215 votes. So, ano lang talaga to, black propaganda lang talaga, pang paninira sa atin. And then, tingin ko, yung Facebook post na yun, naka-boost.
Suwan maintained he signed the impeachment complaint out of principle. Other lawmakers stood by their colleague.
This was an independent action. We believe that's done faithfully and truthfully by each member, that they signified their intention and support of the impeachment complaint based on the merits of the case and nothing more.
They also warned the public not to believe misinformation.
Wag ho tayong madadala sa ganitong klaseng fake news. Kasi ito po ay paraan para ilihis kung ano po yung talagang merits nitong prosesong ito. Meron pong betrayal of public trust, meron pong mismanagement and yung utilization ng pondo ng bayan.
Despite these fake news, several members of the House prosecution panel are confident they have a strong case against the VP, but they leave to the Senate leadership to decide when to begin the impeachment trial.
Since the Constitution provides that trial shall proceed forthwith, if we interpret forthwith, dapat po sana as soon as possible yon. But since the Senate is an independent body, and we respect their independence, being a bicameral legislature, we will leave that to the interpretation of the Senate.
Zandro Ochona, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says he is open to calling a special session if the Senate formally requests it to address the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Agatha Gregorio has the details.
The waiting game is likely to continue for the trial of the vice president until June. According to Senate President Cheese Escudero, the impeachment court must convene in plenary before the trial, but session does not resume until June 2. For now, Escudero says the plan is for the Secretariat to draft impeachment rules, which will be sent to senators over the break, so lawmakers can immediately get to voting when the impeachment court is formed. The Senate President also answers critics questioning the lack of plenary action on Wednesday after the articles of impeachment were transmitted by the House.
Kailangan pa rin pag-aralan siyempre ng Secretary General ng Senado, ng Secretariat ng Senado yung impeachment complaint mismo. Tinanggap lamang namin yung kahapon. Ba't ba nyo kami minamadaling gumalaw ng ilang oras?
Process lang.
Sila mahigit 2 buwan, inupuan, pinag-isipan at pinag-aralan yan. Siguro naman entitled kami ng ilang araw man lang.
Escudero adds they need to check for any e-signatures on the articles, as these would not be counted. And while the Senate President doubts a trial may happen during the break, it is still possible because the President has the power to call for a special session.
Pero ang pagpapatawag ng special session sa aking pagkakaalam ay hindi para mag-convene ng impeachment court. Sa aking pagkakaalam, ang pagtatawag ng special session ay para sa mahalagang bagay at panukalang batas na kailangan ipasa ayon sa ating saligang batas.
The President, on the other hand, says he will call for a special session if the Senate requests it.
If the Senate President calls me up on the telephone, the senators, kinausap ko yung mga senator kung pwede ba mag-special session. Sure, gagawin ko.
Escudero adds it is almost a given the impeachment of the vice president will reach the 20th Congress. The lawmaker also talked about the possibility of members of the next Congress withdrawing the impeachment.
It has to be withdrawn by more than 2/3 para hindi umabot dun sa 1/3 requirement. Ngayon, kung tatanungin mo, paano yan? Nagkaroon na ng jurisdiction yung Senado Pwede pa bang bawiin yun pagdating ng panahong yun ng panibagong Kongreso? Isang bagay yan na pagpapasyahan ng impeachment court pagdating ng panahon by a majority vote.
Escudero adds they have no plans of rushing the impeachment trial. Escudero also said political issues like this will always affect the economy, but because of this, they are working to ensure the impeachment process is credible. Agatha Gregorio, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
With the House of Representatives voting to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte, all eyes now turn to the Senate, which will decide her fate in an impeachment trial. But beyond the political implications, what does this mean for investors and the market? We're joined this morning by Manny Ocampo, Senior Managing Director at Investment and Capital Corporation of the Philippines, to break down the potential impact. Good morning, Manny.
Good morning, Maiki. How are you?
Good, very good. A big local development. The House has moved to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte, passing on the process to the Senate. The market had initially seemed unfazed, but I mean, yesterday we saw it decline by 0.6%. Right now in early trade, we're down by another 0.6%, well entrenched in the red. How much of the market's weakness now is on account of this political shock?
I was going to say maybe not too much, Mikey. Really, because it'll take time for the impeachment process to move forward. I think we heard it earlier from Senate President Escudero that they'll take time to study the matter on their end. So it's there, but I don't think it will move anytime soon. So as far as affecting markets are concerned, maybe not so much at this time. We see how it progresses.
Okay, we'll see how it progresses, but how much of a deterrent is this political noise to foreign investors in particular?
Well, most foreign investors are out already, so maybe I'll call it neutral also on their side. Foreign investors will probably be taking a look at how the midterm elections come out. We've heard it from some guys that we've spoken to, some foreign fund managers. They're taking a look at it for the midterm elections on the political front, at least.
Jumping off on a point that you mentioned, Manny, you said that most foreign investors are already out. That is true. Foreign investors have been net sellers for the past decade. I guess the question I'm getting at is how do we revive the Philippine stock market? The PSEI is on track for its 5th straight annual loss, while our ASEAN peers have largely recovered from the pandemic. I mean, the PSEI first crossed the 6,000 mark in 2013. 12 years after, we're at 6,202 today. Why is the PSEI seemingly unresponsive to our steady economic growth?
Maybe expand that a little bit. Why people are unattracted, or why foreign investors are unattracted to the shall we say, the Philippine capital markets in general. I think we unfortunately as a country suffer from I'll say maybe a governance discount relative to our neighbors. People have seen the Philippines flip-flop on economic policies, and that has been a turnoff to both investors for direct foreign investments and financial market investors as well. So that's one. We also need to really expand the universe of listed companies and promotions from both the regulatory side and SEC, PSE. The investment bankers, us investment bankers, we've been pushing for listing of companies. It's really a bread and butter line that we have. So anything that facilitates bringing in new companies into the market would be a good thing for us and a good thing for the capital markets in general. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned our weak IPO market. Since 2000, only 95 Philippine companies have collectively raised $13 billion, far behind Vietnam, which has had 584 IPOs since raising $36 billion. What can we do to help our IPO market, which is struggling right now?
Okay. I'll move back into history and say that, the government actually did for example, when Petron was privatized, back in the late 80s or so, that was a big exercise that, led to grassroots participating in the capital markets. Maybe government should take a look at privatizing state-owned entities or GOCCs and bringing that to the market. We have quite a number of very good GOCCs out there that lend themselves to a public listing. For example, Land Bank and DBP. everybody loves the financial institutions anyway. So they would be lead on that one. And, I think it's also good that government banks are out there competing with private banks just to make sure that, they're running at the same way that the private banks are being run. So that would be one group. People have always mentioned that they'd like to see PAGCOR go public. That's another one. And a lot of companies that have been granted concessions by the government, I think, should go public. And that I believe that's also part of their concession agreements, that at some point in time they will need to go public. Maybe government can push this along and maybe make it, shall we say, easy for these concession holders to go to the public markets. Concessions like the tollways, waterways, water systems, airports, etc. These are things used by a lot of Filipinos, and it's a use case type of thing, Mikey.
Okay, we're really tight on time. One last quick question. What's your outlook for the PSE index over the next 3 to 6 months, given the economic landscape and the current political noise? Right now, we're at 6202. Where would you like to see the market stay within the range in order to build a strong base?
I think we'll probably look over the next for the next 3-4 months, which is first half now. If we stay within the 62 to 6,500 level, that should be a good level. I think we see in the horizon second half quite a number of interesting issues coming to market. And for example, the IPO of GCash, which is again a private sector but grassroots use type of company that everybody understands, everybody uses. And everybody appreciates. So that will be something we think that will spark interest in the local markets again, hopefully driving the index up to higher levels. Mikey.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Manny Ocampo, the Senior Managing Director of ICCP.
Thank you.
We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
This Valentine's Day, let's celebrate love in all its beautiful forms. Whether it's romance, friendship, or family, love makes every moment special. From our hearts to yours, Happy Valentine's Day.
Welcome back. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange opened earlier. Let's take a look at the initial figures. As of 10:19 this morning, the PSE index is down by 0.6% to 6204. We are, we snapped out of a 3-day, a sharp, broad-based rally over the past 3 days. Yesterday, we fell 0.6%. Now the market is lower by just that amount early in this session. The broader all shares index mirroring the losses in the main gauge, but not down by as much, down by 0.3%. As for the sub-indices, we are seeing a bit of a mixed picture. Only the mining and oil sector is bucking the market's downtrend. It's higher by 0.2%, while the financials, industrial, holding firms, services, and property counters are in the red early in the morning. Now, the foreign exchange market, the peso opened stronger at 58.05 against the greenback from its previous close of 58.18. While some believe the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas will keep interest rates steady, others see room for a rate cut, especially now that inflation remains within the government's 2 to 4% target range for the year. According to China Bank research, a lower inflation print for January shows that price pressures are under control, which could give the central bank enough confidence to start cutting interest rates. Latest data from the Philippine Statistics Authority shows inflation held at 2.9% last month, a slight increase from 2.8% in January of the previous year. So the big question now is, will the BSP act soon or wait for more data? With global uncertainties and domestic growth in play, all eyes are on the central bank's next move. They meet on February 13th. On another front, Manila police raid a facility producing fake PWD IDs, following complaints from businesses and information gathered from their investigation. 3 suspects are arrested. Authorities say that the fake PWD IDs were being sold for just 200 pesos each. Police confiscate computers, printers, and other tools used to manufacture the counterfeit cards. In short, this illegal operation defrauds businesses and hurts legitimate PWD beneficiaries. Authorities warn that more raids are on the way. Car manufacturer Mitsubishi Motors Corporation is investing 7 billion pesos in the Philippines over the next 5 years. The announcement came from MMC President and CEO Takao Kato during a courtesy call with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. According to the Presidential Communications Office, the investment includes a new production model to be built at Mitsubishi Motors Philippines' plant in Laguna. Meanwhile, President Marcos Jr. welcomed the move, saying it bolsters local vehicle manufacturing and job creation. This expansion shows confidence in the Philippine auto industry and could mean more jobs and technology transfers in that sector. On another front, the Philippine economy could grow by 6.3% in 2025, keeping it within the government's 6 to 8% target range. This according to BMI, a research unit of Fitch Solutions, a global firm that analyzes economic and industry trends. BMI, which says strong consumer spending will drive growth, expects the economy to expand by 6.7% in 2026, also falling within the government's target. But it warns that weaker global demand could slow economic momentum and impact the country's gross domestic product, or GDP. While the Philippines is on track for steady growth, global factors could still pose risks to this outlook. Now, 4 people are killed after a private plane crashes into a rice field in Ampatuan, Maguindanao del Sur on Thursday. Local officials say emergency responders recover the bodies of 4 victims described as Caucasian men. Eyewitness reports seeing the aircraft flying low as if surveying the area before it suddenly nosedived into an open field. In a statement on social media, the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command confirms that the aircraft was conducting intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance at the request of the Philippine government. It says that the incident happened during a routine mission in support of U.S.-Philippine security cooperation activities. Now, this raises questions about the nature of U.S. operations in the country and what comes next for the Philippine-U.S. security ties. Elsewhere, a U.S. federal judge temporarily stops Thursday's deadline for federal workers to accept a resignation offer from the Trump administration. The offer lets employees quit now but still get paid until September. Judge George O'Toole says he needs more time to review if the program should be blocked. The American Federation of Government Employees and other unions have filed a lawsuit against the plan. The next court hearing is set for Monday. Unions are warning workers not to take the offer, saying it may not be legal and that the Trump administration may not be able to keep its promises. Still, reports say at least 50,000 workers have already signed up. The bottom line, this puts the plan on hold, leaving thousands of workers in limbo as the legal battle plays out. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Gaza is not habitable due to dangers like unexploded weapons and widespread destruction. He says that Palestinians will have to live elsewhere while the area is being built. President Donald Trump previously stated that the U.S. will take over Gaza and that Palestinians should not return.
When you're removing munitions that are unexploded, I don't think you want people living next to unexploded munitions and weapons depots that have been left behind or are in place because of what Hamas has done. So I think that's just a realistic reality that in order to fix a place like that, people are going to have to live somewhere else in the interim.
Speaking to reporters in the Dominican Republic, Rubio also urges other countries to help rebuild Gaza. For global business, this could impact oil markets, humanitarian aid, and regional stability. Investors will be watching how this affects U.S.-Middle East relations and whether it leads to new geopolitical tensions. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo news channel, always on top.